Everyone tried out for that gig.
Everybody wanted
She was the most effervescent.
She was great.
The most charming, the most likable.
Great, and they didn't love each other. They didn't really like each other. They didn't hate each other. But towards the end especially, and they were so good on air that you would never know.
But it was because they had some kind of tension?
There was a little tension there.
And
I know somebody worked on the show. It was a little tense. Him and Kathy got along really well.
Yes, they did.
And I thought Kathy Lee was great.
I love Kathy Lee. Me too.
I love her. I love that she's a drunk and insane. I truly adore her.
She's everyone's mom.
People that I kid around about that. I think she's one of my favorite people.
I love that.
Because I liked it. I used to be able to turn on TV and see her drunk in the morning.
Yeah.
And just being, or hungover or whatever. And she's just like,
the lip liner's a little outside the lip.
Everything about her, the fact that she would sing and no one cared and nobody wanted it and she would do it anyway. It was like my Aunt Carol. She was my Aunt Carol.
No one wants perfect. She was the beginning of people want authenticity. They want a little sloppy.
Great point.
They want you to misuse the word. They want you, and this is the thing that people, and I hate to bring up politics, and I'll just say our president, they like that the tweets are misspelled. He's like me. Sometimes I misspell things.
Yeah, and you know what it is? I said to somebody as soon as this happened, I said his superpower was funny.
Yep.
He was very funny. He's still funny. I don't know if that works in a pandemic. I don't think it does. I don't think he's going to be able to be that funny.
You know what works?
Yeah.
Eye cancer.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I find funny right now.
Yeah. But I mean, I wonder if this is the end of him because, I mean, this was a preventable situation.
Yes, very.
Whether you liked him or not, this was a preventable
And this is not talking about him, the administration. I mean, to fire the global pandemic team
not great.
Was not great. And look.
And when you find out about a pandemic happening and you can order tests and beef up on supplies, you do it.
But when you're so grumpy at China and have made so many enemies with
and your whole thing is F China, and then your whole thing is like, I don't want to rattle the stock market even a little.
Yeah.
Even a little by mentioning that there is a thing we're going to have to prepare for.
And let's make sure all my friends have sold their stocks before we admit that this is a crisis.
Those senators should be hung.
Explain that. Can you explain that just to people that...
Yeah, there was senators. Dianne Feinstein was one of them. There's another guy, Burr, I think his name. I mean, there's a bunch of them. James Inhofe. Who did what?
So does it seem they held off on admitting to the public the crisis so that people could sell their stocks?
Yeah, they sold their stocks after receiving inside information about the severity of this.
Is this illegal?
That you'd have to ask a lawyer, but it certainly seems like it is illegal, and it's insanely unethical and worthy of, if any of them had any class, they would resign, but they don't, and they're career politicians. So they'll either have to be brought up on charges or publicly shamed. I mean, it is Tucker Carlson, whether you like him or not, whether you think he's whatever or not. There were people, left-wing people, sharing his whole thing where he goes, these people need to be brought up on charges. This is treasonous. I mean, the idea that you have a whole country of people about to get affected by this, and you sell your stocks and change your financial position, but don't alert your constituents is crazy.
Are we at the point where? Sorry, I just opened my computer and there's a dead man in a bear's mouth. Are we at a point where no sane people will even run for office anymore?
Well, part of the problem is that everybody has something they've done they're not proud of. Everybody's got a tweet. Everybody's got something. A lot of the people...
Speak for yourself. I did tweet delete.
Right. Good for you. Yeah. A lot of the people that would run for office and that would be good at it and that are capable can have a very lucrative life in the private sector.
Yeah.
And the operative word is private.
Yes.
So the idea that they have children, they have wives, do they want their entire life picked apart and destroyed so that they can take a huge pay cut to go work in government? And the answer is no.
Yeah. And also, you have to want so badly to be famous.
Yeah.
And these guys are doing 3 cities a day on they are.
And also now all the kids that are growing up, every mistake they've made has been documented, cataloged, saved.
TikToked, liked.
Yeah. So the only people that are going to be able to do this job are complete losers that never did anything cool and that are not fun and that never said anything. I mean, so that's why you get these squares. Like, why do you think you get Amy Klobuchar and Pete Buttigieg and all these people that are like,
she wasn't on MySpace.
Hey, buddy. It's like, yeah, these people have never done a line of cocaine.
Yeah.
Like, they're just like, ugh. It's like they're fucking losers, and that's why you get all these squares because there's nothing to dig up.
Now that authenticity is the most important thing, people going, yep, I used to do fuck and blow. I used to fuck strippers.
Here's the thing.
Go.
It was with Trump, but Trump is such a unique case. He's an amazing communicator. He's transfixing the way he speaks. Is almost hypnotic.
Yes.
He was well known to us. He was known to us for years and years and years.
As a winner,
yeah.
As a successful person,
yeah.
We cannot forget he had the highest ratings of anyone in television.
Yeah, everybody loved him, and he was known as a celebrity. So he gets a kind of a pass. Are strangers without that track record that we don't know
Good point.
going to be able to utilize that same type of thing? I don't know. That remains to be seen.
Interesting.
Like if you're running, because you got to remember, most people have to go through the system. They can't just run for president.
Could Trump have existed without Arnold Schwarzenegger?
Yes, but he couldn't have existed without reality TV and social media, which are the two biggest cultural landscape shifts that I've seen in my life, meaning that reality TV made certain things okay. You know it's fake and manipulated, but you still enjoy it.
Yep.
So you're still enjoying something that you know is fake and scripted and manipulated. There's something very interesting about that, something very strange.
Yeah.
Knowing that these housewives, they were all gotten drunk and they ply them with alcohol and they sit them at a table and they feed them all this stuff. You know that it's very manufactured, but you still enjoy it.
And also the news has started to echo popular shows. So now the news on CNN opens like a Michael Bay movie or like a reality show.
100%.
So the same way that Trump's The Apprentice used to build tension with these
yes.
The news now does that.
Yeah.
So it's what infotainment.
Infotainment. I mean, there was a book that Neil Postman wrote years ago called Amusing Ourselves to Death. And I forget, somebody told me about it recently.
Great
but
book.
It really does kind of, you start to look at like, where did Trump come from? He came from a world where, you know, and then you look at like, you know, a lot of these reality shows like, you know, Survivor, where it's like, let's put people on an island and see if they survive. They get barbaric, you know. I mean, what they do on Bravo and a lot of these shows is like get a bunch of rich people together and they're like, someone will go bankrupt, somebody's husband will hang himself, and let's put the cameras there.
Which also happens after as well. So not only is it chicken and egg, the kind of person who signs up to be humiliated on television, you already have a wonky sample, then being on camera and what that does to you.
So there was a coarsening of the culture through reality TV that started really with the O.J. Simpson trial that then became part of reality TV, a coarsening of the culture, a hardening of it.
Yeah.
Empathy started to drain. People didn't care anymore. As long as it was fun and interesting and entertaining, they'd watch.
And then I think, and this is a show that I loved and was hosted by one of our very good friends, Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
I think also watching Fear Factor, where people were like, oh, I'll fucking drink some blood. That's when we saw how far people were willing to go.
Yeah, and then social media, what's amazing about social media is that people, and especially Twitter, people love the dunk. People love somebody getting the better of somebody else, you know, people wrecking somebody.
Yeah.
Let's wreck that person. Let's destroy the person.
Yeah.
And that's what wins a Twitter argument.
That's
not being right.
That's right.
Not the facts.
That's right.
So then Trump.
The clap back.
Yeah, the clap back. So Trump harnessing that was kind of amazing, where he's like, I don't have to be right. I don't have to have facts. I can just shut it down by saying you're a nasty woman, and he did it brilliantly.
Yeah.
And
anything that is someone that comes from the roast, anything that it is impossible to refute or debunk, you're a nasty woman. No, I'm not. It's the kind of thing where when I used to do comedy about gender, once someone calls you crazy, the argument's over, because anything you say after that is going to sound crazy.
Correct.
Because they've just framed it.
Yeah.
And the more saying I'm not crazy, you've lost.
Yeah. But I wonder if, after going through this, people are going to be like, we don't need to be entertained every moment of the day.
Or the way our brains are wired, we're addicts, you know? I mean, our brain is wired for dopamine. Our adrenals are probably just going to get fucking shot, and we're going to turn into zombies.
But it's like, if this does collapse the healthcare system or near collapse it, and this is very tough and very traumatic, I think people are going to start saying, we don't want a fun president anymore.
Yeah, I want a dork.
We want an Obama. We want a cerebral person.
I want a pale,
Yeah.
Scurvy ass looking.
Yeah, and not even to say nothing of their political opinions, just the aesthetic. Like, I want somebody who treats this professionally and acts professionally. I want a guy who, when they get the pandemic.
Yeah, it's not fun and games.
Yeah, because nobody anticipates a pandemic, but people do. We don't, but you know who does? The pandemic team.
And and Bill Gates called this.
Gates called it
4 years ago.
But it's like Trump's like, what's the, it's not a rally where people are cheering his name. He's like, what's the fun in that?
Yeah, and it's
what's the fun in silently preparing for a pandemic?
You can't.
There's no fun in that. I want to have fun.
You can't germs. You can't see them. They're microscopic.
What are we doing? I want people chanting my name. I want to say we're going to put Hillary in jail. But the darkest energy I've ever been is a place called Colorama, which is right. It's where the Obamas live. It's right by Georgetown. It's a small little enclave in D.C. called Colorama.
The Cloisters?
I don't know.
Hold on, I'm going to look it up.
Look up Colorama.
Is it off Foxhall Road? Because you know how like your town where you grew up, all of a sudden little neighborhoods have names?
Wisconsin Street, all those street, and it just says, and it's all these mansions, and it's very dark energy over there, and it's all like.
Oh, with a K. Oh, yes. No, I know exactly. So
that's super dark energy.
It's called Adams Morgan. They've recently decided to call it Colorama.
But like that area, those couple of blocks in there, there's a dark energy there of like something's going on.
DC is an incredibly dark energy because it's people that want power. Not money, not fame. Power. And DC is fascinating. You wake up, I remember whenever I have to go to the airport, people are up 5 a.m. jogging. Everyone in DC wears navy, a color worn in no other state.
It's very true.
No other city.
Very
people
true.
are wearing navy. It's one of the fittest cities because everyone is so type A that they're up working out in the morning. It's just a very intense energy. And where I grew up, it was a lot of diplomats' wives. It was a lot of socialites. It's a lot of like weird fake proximity to power stuff.
Yeah.
Deriving your value from being close to like a senator who has one vote.
Yeah, it's very strange, and there's spies there. Like I'm into all that stuff.
Give me. What do you mean?
Well, I mean, it's if you're a spy in another, you want to be near power.
Well,
right?
you know that because I would babysit, obviously growing up, which is so funny because again, when we were kids, our lives were so dangerous. We didn't have Google, we didn't have background checks. Like I had babysitters that were just like from the street.
Right.
Like the main qualification for our babysitter was, does she live in the neighborhood? So
interesting.
I remember, I mean, we just had babysitters. We didn't know who they were.
I just picture like rappers babysitting you. You're like, they're from the street. Your parents are like, they have street cred. They're real.
No, literally just people would stay in our homes with our children that we didn't Google.
It's crazy. Yeah.
It was just like, I look back at some of the sketchy ass babysitters I have, and I'm just like, that left a mark.
Yeah.
So I babysat this little kid next to me. I had no business doing it. I had no idea what I was doing. But I remember one time I must have been 11.
Yeah.
And people came to my house to ask me about the dad, a bunch of questions.
Oh, interesting.
And so I found out later, in the CIA. I was 11.
Yeah. And so they were doing a background check or something.
Yes, on him.
So, I mean, so what's interesting about
and he lived in an apartment, which always made me.
Well, they don't make any money in the CIA unless they start. What happens is, after they've been in the CIA for a while, a lot of them start taking side jobs, and those side jobs pay very well. And those side jobs can be for very wealthy people.
Are these like deep web, Reddit side jobs?
No. These are like, okay, I worked at the CIA for a few years now, and I speak Arabic. I'm going to go work for Exxon. Or I'm still in the CIA, but I can do some private work for a multinational corporation that wants information.
Yes.
Or a billionaire family that wants information or needs information for whatever reason. And I can become, their operational person. And, because that's what it is. It's all information and leveraging power. So, CIA people, they're trained and they have a skill set, and their skill set, some of them it's, killing people. It's wet work. It's in the field, and they're.
Is that what it's called?
Wet work is killing people, or being in the field, you're an action whatever.
Yeah.
And then a lot of them are analysts.
So many wet things: wet cough, wet market,
wet work. But then
we work. They should call it wet work and probably be more successful.
There's a lot of CIA people that are like access agents, where their job is to connect you with someone powerful. And their job is to make an introduction, and their job is
Isn't that called Raya?
Acquire, yeah, that's right. Acquire information and stuff like that. And so, so DC is very interesting because you're always in a restaurant, you're looking around, and you're like, who are these people really?
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing. Who are these people really? Who are there's some bold-faced names you might recognize, but then you're like, who are the handlers? The people that are the operators, the people that are behind the scenes making all this stuff happen.
Where do we land on the deep state?
I mean, it exists. I mean, in terms of like, is Trump fighting it? That's the whole question, right? So the deep state essentially is.
What about the wet state?
The wet state, yeah. The deep state is just a nexus of powerful institutions, right? Whether it's the CIA, the FBI, the NSA, National Security Council, the deep state is made up of career diplomats that don't get elected. So they're appointed and they keep their jobs forever. And they're, essentially it is a secret government in the sense that like we don't know who any of these people are. We don't know what they're doing. Nobody really approved it, but they exist. They're well funded. They have a lot of, capabilities. They can do things. They have a lot of power. So some of those people are patriotic, loyal Americans that are doing great things. And then some of those people are doing things that are abhorrent and horrific and will get us in all kinds of trouble later on, whether that's listening to your phone calls or spying on you or abusing their power or, their loyalty is not to the people that live in this country. Their loyalty is to the very wealthy interests that want certain policies and certain people, propagated and supported. So the whole thing of the deep state is it's not a monolith, right? It's not this one thing. It's a collection of people and institutions. Like Henry Kissinger's a guy that's in the deep state because he's held so many positions in the government and he's well known to people that are in the private sector. He's just a permanent fixture. He's kind of for a while was like a kingmaker. And then you'll have like the deep state it'll be like banks and companies you've never heard of. Like there are small financial firms whose entire job is to advise countries on how to earn money in war.
How do you know all this shit?
Books. just articles and books.
You read?
Yeah.
It's amazing how if someone just reads now, they're the smartest person in the room. I just kept reading.
I'm interested in all this stuff because since a little kid, I've always been interested in like what's really going on.
Yeah.
What's really happening. And because I was an actor as a kid, I was 6 years old. I was an actor from 6 to 12.
What is that?
Yeah.
You're like a famous actor, right?
No, I mean, I was on Sesame Street a few times, which is an iconic program. It's more iconic than most things that anyone will ever do. It's the reality. And I've always entertained my generation. When I was a kid, I was entertaining my fellow children. But no, I was never famous.
Was that weird? Do you have memories
I auditioned for
that?
like Home Alone, all that bullshit.
Yeah.
I auditioned for a lot of that stuff. Grace Under Fire, I got
gotta
to like
find those tapes.
second or third call back.
For what? Grace Under Fire?
Yeah.
Those tapes are out there somewhere.
Yeah, Brett Butler did not choose me, but I got to like second or third. I got to like I was almost at the table read with her, and then they went with another kid who was shorter, who looked better next to her.